Hi, this is Koen. I want to say thank you so much for joining us in this conversation. And today we're going to talk a little bit about alignment. And there are a couple of aspects to alignment that I think are really important. And as we engage in these conversations, this really isn't about being dogmatic, right? So if I had silver bullets that I could just sell folks or just give folks in terms of how to create and foster an environment that is supportive of diversity, equity, inclusion, that ultimately leads to this notion of belonging, then I would be someplace else, right? But what I'd like for you to do is to consider these thought processes as we move towards creating psychologically safe environments that people can give their best, their best skills, their best talents, their best thinking, their best energy to, as we create this sense of belonging in our organizations, right? So think of this as a thought exercise, and I want you to think about how you can take these concepts and apply them in your everyday work, right? So I think that's extremely important. And so when we think about this notion of alignment, what we're really talking about is how do we align our intentions ultimately with our behaviors. I will submit to you that it is my belief that the more our intentions are in line with our behaviors, the more effective we are. We'll spend some time in another video talking about effectiveness, like how do you measure it, how do you define it, and how do you share the concept of effectiveness with your team. But that's another video. We'll get to that at another time. But the closer that your intentions and your behaviors can be aligned, the more effective you are. And when they are not aligned, there is this opportunity or this development gap that presents itself. And so this is the place that we either allow the universe to fill, or we fill ourselves with how we attach these two things and get into greater alignment, right? So effective leadership requires that individuals align their intentions and their behaviors to organizational goals, being mindful that there may be many unique methods to accomplish the organizational goals, right? And so when we think about this notion of achieving these goals, it is this opportunity gap or this development gap that presents itself. And so, again, we have to fill it with something or the universe will. And we'll talk more about how to fill that gap as we move forward. But before we can even get to recognizing how do we kind of close that gap, we have to be really clear about our values, right? And because oftentimes our intentions and our behaviors, when we're not mindful, they become very responsive, knee-jerk reaction kinds of interactions, right? But when we're focused and centered on our values, this gives us something to kind of push off of, right? So my oldest daughter is in swimming, and one of the things that she really appreciates about swimming, her swimming lessons, is that they're in a pool as opposed to being out in the lake. And what she likes about that is that in the pool, it gives her something to push off of. There's some boundaries, some form and structure, where when we're at the lake, she doesn't have those, right? So she has a bit more of a challenge swimming in that lake than she often does in the pool. And our values are very much the same way. They give us the rule, the structure, the guidance about what it is that we should be doing and how we go about doing those things, right? And so it is our core values. And I would submit to you that for individuals, some of our core values or our core motivations is that we're after safety, significance, and belonging. Now, there may be different ways or different words that people may use to kind of get to those things, but we're all looking for how to be psychologically, physically, emotionally, spiritually safe, so that we can belong or be in groups with people who understand our significance. And then lastly, that we have this significance, that we have something that we can contribute. And so when we think about our values, our core values, they typically fall along those lines. And so when we get to, I'm going to just fast forward just a second. the notion of goals, goals really play an important role in telling us how do we direct those values. So to what end should those values be directed? Right. And so when I think about how people communicate in groups and in teams, I think it's important to help people realize that it's not so much what we talk about, but it's how we talk about those things, right? And so what is the goal of communication? Typically is to make sure that the clarity of my ideas are transmitted with my intentions intact to another person. Right? And so we have to think about these goals. Now, some of these goals can be very pragmatic. Some of these goals can be attitudinal. Some of these goals can be relational. And so it's on those three tiers that we should be thinking about how we interact with our organization and our organization's goals. And that is what helps keep us in this idea of alignment, right? And so when my behaviors, my values, my goals are aligned, then I get the behaviors that we're looking for. We get a place where people can feel like they belong, where they can give their best. They can interact with clients, with customers, with patients, with each other in ways that are dynamically exhibiting those values, those goals through their behaviors. And so when we think about all of those things, we're going to come back and talk about each of these aspects in more detail, but I just wanted to give you this as food for thought as we talk about this notion of alignment. And again, alignment is this idea that our behaviors and our intentions are aligned with our goals and our values. And so we have to be really clear about our goals. We have to be very clear about our values. We have to be clear about our intentions, and we have to be clear about our behaviors. My name is Koen. I want to say thank you so much for joining us in this conversation. And if you could, please like, subscribe, or follow us as we continue to have these impactful conversations about how you foster a sense of belonging in your organization. Until our next video, I'll see you soon. Again, Koen. Please like, subscribe, and share. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.